Haven't you learned anything?
The Supreme Court said today that it will allow the Trump administration to continue dismantling the U.S. Department of Education. It issued a stay of a lower court decision. The Supreme Court had taken on the case as part of its emergency docket. NPR education correspondent Corey Turner has been following this story and joins us now. Hi, Corey.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm all right. Okay, so what was the underlying case about that led to this emergency appeal to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, so it all goes back to President Trump's executive order earlier this year, where he instructed Education Secretary Linda McMahon to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. The department offered buyouts and early retirement, and then in March, Elsa, McMahon ordered a massive reduction in force, laying off roughly 1,400 employees. You do the math, all these moves together cut the department essentially in half. And it is in response to these dramatic cuts that two different lawsuits were filed. They were eventually merged together. They tried to stop the Trump administration by arguing essentially that Congress created the department, only Congress can dismantle it. Now, in May, a federal judge in Boston agreed. He issued a preliminary injunction that told the administration to not only stop cutting the department, but to reinstate those 1,400 employees that it had laid off. And it is that order, Elsa, that the Trump administration fast-tracked to the Supreme Court as part of this shadow docket and argued, look, we think the president does have the power to make these cuts, and we would like to get on with it.
Okay, so say more about what the justices said in today's ruling.
Well, they didn't say very much. Because it was part of this shadow docket, the ruling was unsigned, and they offered no explanation at all. Only that the court's conservative justices appeared to agree to stay this lower court injunction, which effectively allows the administration to resume cutting the department. Now, I will say one of the liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, wrote quite a bit in what is a pretty scathing dissent. She called the majority's decision indefensible, and she wrote, quote, "It hands the executive the power to repeal statutes by firing all those necessary to carry them out, and that the threat to our Constitution's separation of powers is grave." It goes without saying, Education Secretary Linda McMahon cheered the court's decision today. In a press release, she said, "Today's ruling is a significant win for students and families."
Okay, well, practically speaking, what does the ruling mean for the Education Department then?
Well, on a human level, it means an end to the roller coaster ride for those roughly 1,400 Ed Department employees who suddenly lost their jobs in March and then didn't know. One of them texted me just a few hours after the ruling today, saying they had already gotten an email from the department telling them they would be terminated as of August 1st. Meanwhile, we got to point out here, this case is still technically working its way through the lower courts. This is not the last word, which is why the plaintiffs here were so worried about letting these cuts go through before they get their day in court. Because these cuts are so severe that trying to undo them later would be kind of like trying to put fire back on a match.
That is NPR's Corey Turner. Thank you, Corey.
You're welcome.
We lose our job, we walk the street all fucking night. How you gonna come home and tell a black woman you ain't got no money? You trying to think of a lie.
The Supreme Court this week gave the Trump administration the green light to reorganize government agencies and begin the process of mass firings of federal workers. Tens of thousands of employees at nearly 20 federal agencies could be out of work, with layoffs expected at the State Department as soon as tomorrow morning. As Lisa Desjardins explains, that's happening even as court challenges will likely continue.
The reductions in force, known as RIFs, led by the DOJ team, had been on hold for months. A lower court judge ordered a pause because the Trump administration did not consult Congress first. But the majority of the Supreme Court ruled that the planning for mass firings can move forward. The justices wrote that the court is not ruling on the future firings, but only on the president's order that agencies start planning them. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented, writing sharply that the court is greenlighting the president's legally dubious actions in an emergency posture. To discuss where things stand and how federal workers are responding, I'm joined by Everett Kelly, the president of the American Federation of Government Employees, which represents more than 800,000 people. Everett, a lot of people want to know what this means for federal workers. What are you hearing from them?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all, Lisa. Federal employees are just at a disarray, if you will. They are so confused. 1 minute, they're being told you're going to get riffed. The next minute, it's put on hold, and then you're going to be riffed again. So people are confused, but at the same time, they are more determined now than ever to fight these unjust actions.
We are trying to get a hold of what's happening in this exact moment. Our Nick Schifrin and others are reporting that the State Department may announce RIFs, those reductions in force, tomorrow, even though we didn't expect them to start until next week. Are you hearing of firing starting now?
I have in the last few moments heard of such an action, but this is the thing. There should not be a rush to implement these extreme layoff plans that was created by Elon Musk before there's been, time to review and evaluate the consequences. Now, we saw what happened when the VA did just that. The secretary drastically scaled back Musk's plan. Secretary Rubio should engage in the same kind of careful analysis so that they can analyze every aspect of these actions.
This is a court victory for President Trump at this point, and the White House did send us a statement saying, in their view, this court decision clearly rebukes leftist judges trying to prevent the president from achieving government efficiency. You obviously represent federal workers, but I wonder how you see that argument about efficiency. Do you think there is any bloat in the federal government? Should there be any jobs cut?
I'm going to say this. I don't think that these actions is about efficiency. I clearly think that it's about retaliation for the members of AFGE and for the workforce standing up and calling out these unjust actions. Now, if the administration want to really talk about efficiency, want to talk about, should there be RIFs, talk to the people that do these jobs every single day. And let's look at that. Let's analyze and see if it's necessary, because the services that the American people deserve, they should get it. And it's the American workforce that's providing these services. I mean, just imagine, if you just go in and blankly start rifting people, who's going to be affected by that? It's the American people. It's the American people that are dependent on the Veterans Administration to provide care for the veterans. It's going to be the people that provide food safety, air safety, air travel safety, all of these types of things that the American people are going to be affected by. So it should be careful analysis of these things before we just blankly start doing reduction in forces.
I know you mentioned this is confusing for federal workers. I think it's confusing for most Americans as well, all of the back and forth here. So I want to do a quick reset on a little bit of where we are with the actions in the past 5.5 months. We know that somewhere around 75,000 federal workers took that fork offer for those early retirements or deferred resignations. There's a lawsuit that estimates some 24,000 probationary, that's newer workers mostly, have been fired. But overall, we still don't really know how many federal workers have been riffed or fired, how many may have been reinstated after they were fired. But to getting to your point, through all of this, what services do you think have been affected? What has affected American lives so far, and what specifically do you think could be affected next?
Well, it's when you look at what's happening across this country. I mean, just when you look at Texas, for instance, and the rainstorms and the flooding there, those FEMA employees are not readily available as they could be. They were warned, if you lay off these employees, you're going to suffer loss. And in many instances, it could be people's lives that's at stake. And you're seeing that happen across the board, and it's going to be more and more of it, if we are not careful and think about how we are addressing these issues and how we're attacking these issues, especially without good analysis.
I know Secretary Noem has said that she thinks localities on the ground are getting everything they need, but there is reporting that we will follow up on what happened with FEMA exactly in Texas. But I want to ask you as we wrap up, you mentioned that the Veterans Administration, for example, did announce that they've cut back on their plans for firings. As these workers may get firing notices, do you think they should take that as an absolute firing, or is it possible that courts will reverse this or the administration will? What happens next?
Well, to be honest with you, I think that AFGE has a very strong case against the legality of these actions. So I encourage people to hang in there. These people want to do their job. They just want the opportunity to do it.
Everett Kelly, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
Hundreds of State Department employees were fired today as part of a reorganization plan at headquarters. Retired diplomats call the reduction in force an act of vandalism. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he was just cutting the bureaucracy, as NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports.
On the first floor of the State Department, employees were turning in their equipment and badges in several offices near the front entrance. 246 Foreign Service officers and 1,107 civil servants were told they would lose building and email access by the end of the day.
Yeah, it's really a sad and disappointing, and it's kind of an angry day.
That's Tom Yasgardi, who heads the American Foreign Service Association, the State Department's union, which was recently stripped of its collective bargaining rights by the Trump administration.
My successor has been riffed. He was a Latin resident at Howard University.
Foreign service officers spend much of their career abroad, but do rotate into offices in Washington or take part in that diplomatic in residence program, which he mentioned. That was cut, as were senior diplomats getting ready for posts overseas.
The amount of money we've invested in these people with their language ability, their knowledge, their expertise is just mind-blowing that they would get rid of folks like this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Combined with early retirements and buyouts, State Department officials say they have met their goal of a 15% cutback at the headquarters in Washington. For now, at least, there are no plans for cuts to overseas postings. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters on a trip to Malaysia this week that this was a carefully crafted reduction in forces to streamline a department that he says was bloated.
Our reduction in force was done, I'm very proud to say, I think, I would argue probably in the most deliberate way of anyone that's done one. We went very specifically through and reorganized the State Department. And when you reorganize the State Department, there were certain bureaus we wanted to empower the regional bureaus, and there were certain bureaus, these functional bureaus, that were closed.
One example his aides give is that there were 3 offices dealing with sanctions, and now that's down to 1. Others that were cut were working on climate change, refugee issues, helping Afghan allies resettle in the U.S., and democracy promotion. Former diplomats like Tom Countryman call this a boon for China.
The Chinese are laughing every day at the moves of this administration. I speak to them, and they just can't believe the self-destruction on the economic and diplomatic front.
Countryman is a nuclear nonproliferation expert who advocates for diplomacy with a group called Foreign Policy for America. He says the Trump administration has different priorities.
The president's budget has us spending $100 billion a year just on nuclear weapons, my favorite topic, more than twice as much as what we spend on diplomacy that is meant to prevent war and conflict around the world.
He says when you add up all the buyouts, resignations, and the rifts, America's diplomatic service will be hard hit. That's on top of the dismantlement of the U.S. Agency for International Development. That means fewer diplomats to promote American products and agricultural goods, and fewer officials to protect American travelers and students abroad. When asked how much this is saving U.S. taxpayers, a senior State Department official didn't have an immediate answer. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
All right, so your premise in the article is that, conflict in the world is on the rise, clashes over politics, race, gender, and so on. And so is conflict at work. So, I'm interested in the culture of conflict, I guess. I've worked for different kinds of companies, some that love the fact that they're no jerks and that is part of the secret sauce. And I've worked at other companies that think, no, you actually want to encourage the flamethrowers, not to be, mean and uncivil, but to maybe bring a sharp edge that actually might be how you get to a good place in terms of ideation or strategy or something like that. What's your view on that? What does a healthy culture look like in that context?
I'll say what a mediator says, which is they're both right. You want basically enough civility and rapport and decency and sort of fun with your colleagues to be able to have, psychological safety and be able to get things done and say things that are outrageous occasionally in terms of ideas. So it's helpful to have candor. It's helpful to have people that are kind of straight talkers sometimes that will challenge your ideas. But in times like this, where our broader cultural ethos is so polarized and so oftentimes so triggering, people have less tolerance for that. So I think it depends on the company. It depends on what you're what your focus is, what you're doing. But if you really want people who can think critically and challenge each other, you need to create the conditions where they can do that relatively safely. And that doesn't mean no conflict. I'm a big fan of conflict. Let me put it that way, right? It is a driver of change. So you want to have some kind of optimal balance of both. And the particular balance of that will change from industry to industry and company to company.
Okay, so I understand the starting point. I understand the problem you're trying to solve. Yeah. I'm interested in the nature of the research you're doing that's trying to address how to deal constructively with conflict. So talk a little bit about the research and what you're trying to tease out.
I was trained by a man named Morton Deutsch, who came out of World War II and really studied conflict. And he studied basically good and bad conflict, what he called constructive or destructive conflict processes. He argued that conflict is a natural thing. It's part of our existence, and we need it in order to be able to, learn and challenge one another and innovate and move forward, but it can go bad. So you want to understand the conditions under which conflict goes in a good direction. We've built on their research, on his research and his, students' research, and that's what we study. And we study particularly the capacities of leaders to create conditions where they can encourage people to have conflict that moves in a constructive direction, where they learn and be able to, hold on to their relationships. And so it is trying to find that optimal balance that we study.
Okay, and so what have you found? What are the attributes of a leader who is good at handling, diffusing, moving through conflict?
There's a series of basic competencies that we've identified. Part of it is self-control. Part of it is having some capacity to know how you react, what triggers you, and to be able to sort of be calm in difficult circumstances. That helps. We have a measure called the Conflict Anxiety Response Scale. It argues that when people are in certain kinds of conflicts, they tend to get anxious, and then they tend to get derailed in certain predictable ways. So being aware of that is helpful. That's a baseline, I think, is some self-awareness and ability to self-regulate. But then you have a kind of next level of skills, which are social skills. Can you negotiate effectively? And that can be, kind of win-win negotiation where we problem solve together, or, more competitive negotiation where you advocate for yourself, or combining both, right? So leaders that are particularly effective at this are able to sort of find combinations of both, where they advocate for a certain position, but they also listen and integrate new ideas, and right. So it's more of a kind of collaborative and a competitive process happening simultaneously. Those are critical. There are different levels of these skills. One is self-control, one is social control, then it's the capacity to use different tactics in different kinds of situations as they change. And ultimately, it's helpful to have a sense of the whole. You may be at a time, like we are, where the political ethos is really severe. And having an understanding of that and recognizing that sometimes those issues trickle in and that they may require a sort of different approach is critical.
In your article, you use the term, and maybe you coined the term, conflict intelligence. It sounds like emotional intelligence, but I think you mean something a little bit different. How would you define, what is conflict intelligence?
Conflict intelligence builds on emotional intelligence because that is the sort of oftentimes the capacity to, know yourself, regulate yourself when necessary, understand emotional dynamics. But it goes beyond that because it really is the capacity then to, one tactic or strategy we talk about is adaptivity. And adaptivity is that, sometimes, you may have your go-to way of responding to employees or to clients that's pretty constructive, but sometimes you need to pivot. Sometimes you need to recognize, no, this isn't business as usual. This is something different. They're being more contentious, peevish, problematic, and I need to really kind of stand up to them. So that capacity to adapt, which means to change your strategies to fit the situation in a way where you maintain integrity, right? So that's critical. It's not just adapting. It's not just shifting with the winds. It's having a sense of what is important to you, what your North Star is, what you're trying to do in this situation with this relationship with this client, but also recognizing that sometimes you need to pivot and draw some red lines and stand up for yourself.
The way we're speaking, so far it sort of seems like, the CEO or the senior leader who's handling these issues is somehow, above the fray or needs to try to be above the fray. And that, that brings into this whole question about that we've been having for, a decade or so, whether CEOs need to weigh in on political and social issues at the moment. A few years ago, we would have all said, yes, they have to because their employees demand it, their customers demand it, stakeholders demand it, and their silence will be interpreted on social media, probably negatively. So you need to kind of enter the fray. I don't think there's one right answer to this, but in the context that we're talking about, what do you think about CEO activism these days?
I think it's fraught because of the time we're in. I mean, I am on faculty at Columbia University, and we know right away the trouble that Columbia University has gotten into by either speaking out or not speaking out, taking a side or not taking a side. So it's a very difficult time to walk that line. I do think, again, each company is different. People have to pay attention to their internal needs of their staff and employees and where they are. Particularly younger employees are highly expecting their leaders to stand up for some issues. It used to be that organizations were less inclined to do so. There was a tipping point around George Floyd's murder where the many leaders of different types of organizations would step up and say, this is wrong, and we need to be really clear about that. And now with the Supreme Court rulings around affirmative action and things like that, they've been backing up a little bit. So it's a fraught time to speak on political issues at that level. I think, what you can do is speak to issues that are directly relevant to your work, to your space, to what it is you do, what it is you work with, your partners out there. I think that the more local you can keep it, the more reasonable it seems, and the less likely you're going to step on one of these tripwires.
Yeah. Well, so then the flip side of this is to what extent we're comfortable with employees, quote unquote, bringing their whole selves to work. And I would say there's certain things that felt semi-settled that are now in play, and semi-settled was you want your employees to bring their whole selves to work because that's how you get, a healthy workforce, et cetera, et cetera. Mark Andreessen said, why would I want somebody bring their whole self to work? How does that help me? How does that help my company get things done? And we can debate whether or not that's exactly how to get things done or it's not. Yeah. But to what extent do you help solve the conflict problem by telling people, leave some of that stuff at home. You don't have to bring everything to work that you're feeling and that you're passionate about. There's stuff for work and there's stuff not for work. What do you think about that?
I think it's important to have, as much as possible, transparent conversations around this issue and to help set expectations. Because if you have a top-down policy that says, here's a list of things you can't talk about, it's really going to stop people bringing important parts of themselves to work that will help the company understand different markets, understand different, sort of issues that are out there, how prevalent they are. So I don't think that's the way to go. I do think that the way to go is to be clear about what expectations are. I also think it's really important to set up norms and expectations about when, for example, meetings derail, right? So in my class, I teach a class in conflict at Columbia. As you can imagine, a lot of provocative issues come in. It's very easy for the class to get derailed. And so I set up a contract right away with students first day and say, look, things are going to come up. People are going to get derailed. Conversations will start in class that this isn't a place to have it because we don't have the time, we don't have the facilitation, and it's going to harm some people. If that happens, then I maintain the right to kind of pause it and say, pause this conversation. We'll set up an off-ramp, set up a time when I'll come and we'll talk it out and we'll spend more time to do that. But we can't do that here because our work right now is this, and this is derailing us. So anticipating that and setting up those expectations and basically getting agreement with your employees that this is how we'll work recognizes that things can go south. And we don't want to shut those conversations down, but we want to have them in a way that can be fruitful. And oftentimes in a meeting of a half hour, 45 minutes with other things on the agenda, they're not.
So it sounds like you would suggest companies do the same thing.
Yeah.
Not when a thorny issue comes up, but before that.
Preparation. Absolutely. I mean, in the article, the HBR article that we're talking about, I start with sort of, build the ground rules, build a sense of rapport and a sense of, expectations, build the infrastructure for this, particularly right now. This isn't always necessary. It's not necessary in every company, but because of the fraught times we live in, I think it's really important that managers, leaders expect that things can go south and prepare for that. And so they have some options. It just gives managers a sense of efficacy and possibility, and they don't feel like a deer in the headlights, which happens with a lot of university professors. Something breaks out in the classroom. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what to say. And so they either shut it down or they let it go too far. So to anticipate that, I think, is really critical.
So inside a business, how do you decide when a conflict requires this level of engagement or mediation? I mean, are we talking about, labor versus management, more subtle issues, the sort of big political, social issue? What's the threshold for getting involved?
To me, what needs to set the agenda is what are we doing? Like, what's our objective here? What are we trying to do in this meeting or in this department? What is our focus? And is this relevant? And is this going to help serve our focus? Or is this going to take us off in a rabbit hole that we really don't have time to deal with effectively, and it won't serve what we're trying to do? So I think managers having a relatively clear sense and checking this out with their staff and employees and revisiting it once in a while about what is our MO? What are we really trying to, what is our North Star? What are we trying to do? And use that as a litmus test to think about, this is really getting offline, or people are getting really heated, and I can sort of feel that coming on. Some leaders are, again, much more empathetic, much more able to read the room socially. Some aren't. So if I'm not, I want to have somebody with me who is. And who can say to me, Peter, this is an interesting conversation. I suggest we, set this up on Saturday.
Update to a breaking story we have been following the last few hours out of Eastpointe, where police say an employee stabbing her own manager to death. This all happening inside a McDonald's on 9 Mile. That's where we find Fox 2's Camille Amiri joining us with the latest. Camille, a lot coming out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. We just spoke with the victim's daughter, who is absolutely beside herself. You're going to be hearing from her later today on our newscast, Fox 2 News, at 5 o'clock. But first of all, let's break down what happened, and I think you've got some video that you can show. This was around 8 o'clock this morning here at the McDonald's in Eastpointe on 9 Mile. There was some sort of verbal altercation between this manager and an employee who, incidentally, the daughter says they were friends, that they were friendly. The employee goes home, according to police, gets a knife, comes back, stabs the manager. We've learned her name is Jennifer Harris, 39 years old, 6 children, a single mom, working here for 15 years, stabs her to death. And then somebody in the drive-thru, this is happening in the area of where the employees are working in the drive-thru section of the fast food restaurant. Somebody going through the drive-thru, a CPL holder, sees everything happen. He shoots his gun in the air to try to stop everything. Unfortunately, he is not successful in doing so. But as the suspect is running out of the McDonald's, the police say that the man with the gun actually ran after her and held her at gunpoint until police arrived. She was arrested. Unfortunately, Jennifer Harris, 39 years old, died once she arrived at a hospital, multiple stab wounds. We did talk to an employee. Here's what she had to say about this horrible tragedy.
She left for 5 minutes. She came back with a mask on her face, and the only thing I seen was her hands. That's how I knew it was her. and she started stabbing her, and I ran for help and basically asking everybody like help or whatever. I tried to stop her. It was no stopping her. She stabbed her everywhere.
Just an absolutely horrible, horrible situation. Again, coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, you'll be hearing from Jennifer Harris's oldest daughter. The family, these kids are ages 5 to 20, 6 children altogether. They were here earlier, just moments ago, absolutely beside themselves, really not understanding any of this and why this happened. They said that their mom, they called her, everyone's nickname for her was Jamma, that she got along with everybody. She always had a smile on her face, and that the suspect, they said, was always friendly to the children and giving them stickers and always laughing and smiling with them. So the family is having an incredibly hard time processing this. Of course, we're going to continue to follow this story, but that is the latest going on right now. Of course, that suspect in custody, also a female, 26 years old. Reporting live in Eastpointe, Camille Amiri, Fox 2 News.
Condolences to the family of Jennifer Harris, mother of 6, 39 years old. Really, that alone, even if she did not have any offspring, 39-year-old black female Jennifer Harris, Eastpointe, Michigan. And oh yes, mother of 6 black children, killed at work. July 11, that would be last Friday. Hasn't he been, or I guess today is 7 days. 7 days. Black, and I'm proud. Context of White Supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy, information for non-white people, victims of white supremacy, like Jennifer Harris. Today's date, Thursday, July 17. Again, Miss Harris killed on July 11, but today is Thursday, July 17, 2025. So I have been told. Our weekly forum on neutralizing workplace racism, not for spectators. In a world where black people stab and kill other black people on the job, stab and kill coworkers on the job, neutralizing workplace racism. If you have figured out how to neutralize conflict with other non-white people on your job, let us know. You have zero concerns. Hey, I don't know. Me and Leroy, we got into it the other day. I don't know. Might have a straight razor, concealed carry permit, butcher knife, all of the above. Go get some friends from childhood, be waiting for me outside, or at minimum, slash my tires. You figured out. I don't have that concern at all. Might have disagreements. I know. It's going to stay professional. Matter of fact, we not even going to do no name calling. If we have conflict at all, most of the time we are peaceful, courteous, professional. If you have figured out how to accomplish that, you all are all about workplace safety. That's what I talk about all the time. Workplace safety. They have, I don't know if you work in some of the places, particularly if they do like construction, dangerous work, probably like Amazon, but they'll have a chart up or graphic of some sort, and it'll say such and such days since the last accident. If you work in a facility like that, maybe you all are in triple digits, maybe quadruple digits. You got to almost have gray hair and be old fogey I think we had an accident. Somebody got their foot rolled over nigh on 19 and 83, I think, but I don't know. It's kind of like that's the type of place you want to work in. Like, ooh, we take safety protocols seriously. Check all our fire extinguishers. We don't have no violence here. Hey. We don't have no violence. We don't have no disgruntled employees. Matter of fact, remember I talked, a caller, he dialed in a few months ago, earlier this year, and he said Leroy, of course, got fired. Gus T, my cousin. But he got fired. And for being unruly in the workplace, I think he had some conflicts or what have you. But after his termination, he would come back and just park his vehicle in the company parking lot and just loiter. And this went on for some days. And he was saying, you know, what to do. I said, I would encourage, move along. I would not do that sort of thing. I said that is really, really dangerous. Person sees that, call the police, and particularly because he said this person had a history of kind of being somewhat volatile in the workplace. Man. Whew. Gotta be alert. Especially really with any sort, they talked about conflict intelligence, really gift of fear. I would be alert once conflict comes up, and I would look at how people behave during the conflict. Now, even some of the things I already said, cursing, name calling, threatening. Are you maintaining professionalism even when there's a disagreement in the workplace? These are the types of things I'd be paying attention to, in addition to the person's workplace history. Is this person in volatile conflicts all the time? Yelling at people, cursing, that sort of thing. Is this one of those folks who brings the guns and ammunition book to the workplace? You know, is this one of the folks talking about, hey, I'll shoot you? That type of thing, like, oh man, that might be enough. Like, what? Is that Ben in there? Yeah. Oh man, Ben done already. I know Ben got the shotgun on the back rack of the truck, or Ben got concealed carry permit. I know this. Ben goes out hunting every week. I already know all of this. Brags about dismantling his weapon, field stripping it, do it blindfolded, under 60 seconds. Put it back together in under 30 seconds. Kill you in less than 5 seconds. Just fooling. Not really. But that sort of thing, like all of that would be, man, they had that big argument, you know, he didn't get that raise he wanted, he didn't get that promotion he wanted, you know, or he got demoted, or what, he got fired, laid off, whatever it is. Ooh-wee. Maybe we need to go and talk to HR. Maybe we need to go and maybe we need to call the police. Let them know we have concerns. This has happened, and blah, 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 and this is the history, and blah, 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 and, you know, can we get security, you know, for the next few weeks or so? Just, you know, make sure things are, you know, stable, and then being alert, like, uh-oh, Ben is camped out in the parking lot. Oh, my God, what is going... Be alert, man. Conflict in the workplace, like, oh man, this could linger, this could fester, this could just be stage 1, and we're going to have the rest of this to be continued. Safety in the workplace, talk about that all the time, because the system of white supremacy racism is so inherently dangerous for so many reasons. Let's see, get back to Jennifer Harris quickly. Just some of the other reports that or matter of fact, even before that, the number, since it's not for spectators, is 720-716-7300, the code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Again, you don't have figured out how to avoid some of these problems, or you have figured out steps to create a safer work environment. You should be on speed dial. We need all of the tips you can share for black people. 720-716-7300, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Make sure you share, especially this program, Neutralizing Workplace Racism. Share with other non-white people. If you hear non-white people complaining about their workplace, share. If you think they would benefit from some of these strategies, information shared about the area of labor specifically, some of these suggestions and information that we discuss on a regular basis, weekly basis, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Share, let folks know that we are on right now discussing workplace murder of Jennifer Harris up in Michigan, black mother of 6, in addition to other issues of workplace racism. Share the broadcast. Let them know. Tell non-white people, victims of racism, they can dial in and or listen in live. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. Email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. News reports that we heard at the beginning quickly. Linda McMahon, WWE fame, puts the pile driver on the Department of Education. They about cut the organization in half. They've been talking about getting rid of the Department of Ed for some time now with President Trump, even though this has been going on for some years. I would submit I cannot possibly see how all of this is going to benefit non-white children, especially because I suspect you'll have a lot of non-white educators who will get the axe in these cuts. But the word again, Neely Fuller Jr., confusion. I have a job. Oh, wait, no, I don't have a job. Oh, wait a minute. I do have a job. Oh, no, I don't have. Even that, like I said, the great Bay Area mom, she told us this some years ago now, it's aged well. She said, hey, any of us being victims of white supremacy, non-white people, any of us, regardless of degrees, commas on your bank account, crypto account, whatever, any of us could be fired in the next 5 seconds, regardless of cause, competent, did you really rape her? Doesn't even matter. Any of us could be fired in the next 5 seconds. Elon, and one more time, Neely Fuller Jr., hey, white people can show you better than I can tell you. We didn't even need 6 months of Elon Musk. All we needed about, about 10 days, 30 days of Elon Musk? You can be fired in about 5 seconds. We don't even have to give you a reason. Card just don't work no more. Beat it. That is the system of white supremacy racism. And, hey, depending on who gets selected, depending on who's sitting on the Supreme Court, maybe you get to keep your job, maybe you don't. That system of white supremacy racism. They spoke with Everett Kelly, black male, victim of racism, the American Federation of Government Employees, talking about all of these firings and what a terrible job, terrible idea it's been, and terrible execution. They said that word again, confusion. And they asked Mr. Kelly, black male, said, Mr. Kelly, what do you think? People that have been fired, let go of jobs, do you think they should hold on, hope, Obeezy style, hold on, and maybe they'll get their jobs back? Now he said, hang in there. Interesting metaphor. Victims guaranteed qualified for Mr. Kelly. I say, if you are a non-white person, especially if you're classified as black, and you're in this group, State Department, Department of Education, whatever, CDC, whatever your federal job is, and you get fired, I would say, really, you should have already had your resume edited, updated, flossed. If you get fired from any job on this here plantation called the System of Racism, you should consider it permanent. I am just not aware of too many black people who get fired, like they get you your cardboard box, access card don't work no more, they repossess the company car, all of that. I'm just not aware of too many Leroy's, Lakeishas, where, whoops, my fault, Leroy. Come on back. Come on, we made a mistake. Here's your parking space back. Here's your keys. Here you go. We got you a half-eaten bag of peanut M&Ms as an apology. Got that right. Got your same old desk. We polished it up and everything. There you go. Put a whoopee cushion in your seat. Just joke. All right, here. I'm just not aware of, too many instances of that happening. Now, that's one I would rather it be a pleasant, stunning surprise as opposed to I'm hanging on to hope and, maybe, because I feel like that might be lead me towards sitting out in the employee parking lot loitering. See? Let's see. They talked about the cuts to the State Department. Now, I don't know the demographics to know the exact, if it's a lot of black people that work at the State Department or what have you. I would have to see. But they talked about how they are spending for conflict, military, spend, and the people that would be about peace, so-called diplomacy. Maybe we won't send a drone to drop a few bombs on you. Maybe we'll actually send a person, or at least AI, to go and chat. Maybe we can, suss this thing out, figure out, come to an agreement, and we don't have to bomb and blow up a few children. Maybe, maybe we can minimize some of that. One more time, kid. I think this is about third, fourth mention for the great Neely Fuller Jr. Said, man, he said, I heard white. Now, he was a federal employee, so he could have been potentially one of the folks that they're talking about. Oh, we got to furlough old Fuller, get on out of Fuller, saying the same thing. I went in, my key card didn't even work this morning, saying the same thing. But he said, I have heard white people say, peace is boring. We got to get a fight started. We don't sit around and do all this. Just, we go talk, maybe we go fishing. We talk about not bombing anybody today. Like, that's boring. We don't want to do that. Yeah, we want to get a fight started. Like, what you say about me? You said something about me. Yes, you did. I'm going to go. Yeah. They like that sort of thing. That's what we spend. We got money to bomb and bomb and bomb and bomb. Now, the Department of Education, we can't even get the bake sale together correctly for the Department of Education, but bombs, we got all the bombs you need. we got bombs to let folks borrow. Like, hey, it ain't no big deal. Let's see. We heard from HBR cast Peter T. Coleman. He wrote a report, The Conflict Intelligent Leader, just published this summer, HBR Harvard Business Review. And he said, importantly, times like this, where our broader cultural ethos is so polarized and so oftentimes so triggering. That's what Mr. Coleman said, who's classified as white, I think, unless I'm mistaken. But he said, times like this. What do you mean, times like this? Do you mean times like when President Obizi first got elected in 2009 and they were making historic death threats against him? People were carrying rifles at town city hall meetings? Is that what you mean? Do you mean times like this, like when John Kennedy was assassinated? Do you mean times like this, like the Civil War? My point being, any time in the system of white supremacy is tumultuous. And really what reminded me, can we go quintuple? Neely flippin' Fuller Jr. He said, and I remember the exact quote. He was talking about the 1960s, and he said, man, it was hot. Ooh, everything was real turbulent and tense. Isn't that right now? But I said, again, isn't that 2009 now, didn't we remember Obizi getting, what did I just say? I remember them white people walking around. They were having the town healthcare meetings, and they had shotguns and rifles. Obese had been in the White House like days. He couldn't have done that much. Then I'm mad. I want to see him fail. Wasn't that hot? Wasn't that they yelling out at the meeting? You lie. Wasn't that hot? Wasn't that turbulent? You remember what that was like on the job? Really, the whole year leading up to the election. Wasn't that hot? Wasn't that turbulent? Anytime under the system, it ain't nothing peculiar about right now. This is all the time. I remember George Floyd. Forget, I didn't even mean to say George. I remember Eric Garner and Michael Brown Jr. They don't even talk about that anymore. That was like the whole summer of this. Isn't that 11 years? Hadn't been 11 years. That was 2014. They spent the whole summer. I had never even heard of Ferguson. Had to send Eric Holder down there to investigate and everything. Just turbulent then too, right? Oh, Beasley was on the White House then too. Turbulent then too. Trayvon Martin. Jeez, man, come on. Anyway, since it's always turbulent in the system of white supremacy racism, that's why I say no discussing politics in the workplace. Like never, ever, 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 ever. At no era, John F. Kennedy got shot, and you got your broom, and you're at work. What I look like in here? You say, I think the race soldiers, I read the article about Abraham Bolden. I think race soldiers did something to President Kennedy. What I look like sweeping the floor? Now I'm broke out into this extemporaneous dialogue. Who am I talking to? My boss? The folks who work in the cafeteria? Who am I talking to? We fast forward. 2008, we'll say summertime, 2008. Oh man. Obese and McCain, what's it gonna be? Now what I look like? I'm working at the cafeteria in Stocksdale, Arizona. Man, I think obese. Matter of fact, remember when John McCain, when he opposed the Dr. King holiday and said he was a no-count communist? I think that old John McCain is a racist. You want some more mashed potatoes? What in that do you think they're going to have somebody else scooping mashed potatoes at the cafeteria tomorrow after I had said all that? No time. He said bringing your whole self to work. I don't know what that means. No discussing politics in the workplace. We're just talking about things related to the job. He said a lot of things, Mr. Coleman. He said the younger generation, they kind of expect bosses and CEOs in the workplace. They expect them to take a stance on, social issues. And, you're supposed to come out and say something, and be with Trayvon Martin and what you think about George Floyd or whatever the case of the day is. Man, talk about incorrect expectations. And for any time period, if I had children, nieces, whatever, opportunity to talk to myself at 15, man, I wouldn't care if you have a black boss with 8 black great-grandparents all born in Georgia and Mississippi. Do not ever have any expectation that this person will come out and say anything about racism, white supremacy, any issue related to justice. Anything. Even they said local, nothing. That's not even why you're on the job. You're there to earn as much money as you can and to study the system of white supremacy racism. Period. It's not about, I'm trying to get them to take this claw and blah, blah, blah. Hey, if you can get them to just observe their own safety rules and regulations, consider yourself way ahead. And you can get all the nickels that you're supposed to way ahead. In terms of that they got to make a statement about George Floyd or climate change or anything like that. Can we just make sure we are observing the safety regulations here? Not practicing racism against me. Spell my name correctly on my pay stub. You want to talk about local? Can't get no more local than we got safety regulations here in case y'all fire somebody, they don't come back and stab up everybody. Anywho, no politics in the workplace. He said tripwires. I thought that was interesting. Just in my view, politics on really anything not related to workplace is a potential tripwire, even talking to other non-white people, because Jennifer Harris ain't no black love and solidarity or non-white love and solidarity in the workplace. That is absurd. That's also why there is no expectation that anybody, even the non-white people, that they come in and, you know, they got a black and I'm proud badge, or they got their Juneteenth paraphernalia, or later on this year they'll be Kwanzaa red. None of that. None of that. That they love and honor Neely Fuller Jr. and got Dr. Welsing's ISIS paper book piled up in their trunk. None of that. None of that. My only really expectation is that racism is probably going to be practiced against me in a myriad of ways that I'll know and be ignorant about. That's about it. Other than that, hey, I'm not going to have, and certainly I'm not going to have any expectations about correct treatment or correct behavior even. I mean, it might be some fake verbalizations about that, but I mean, I will be pleasantly amazed if there's actual follow through. We are for reals. We talk about it and we walk justice, doing the correct thing. Wow. See if I can work here forever until I get ready to retire, as long as the pay is, you know, correct. Anyway, now Jennifer Harris, black mother of 6 in Eastpointe, Michigan. 39 years old. Again, that, you know, would be tragedy enough right there. 39 years old. Manager at McDonald's. Stabbed to death in the McDonald's by 26-year-old suspect Afeni Muhammad, also classified as a black female. This just happened like 7 days ago. July 11 in Michigan. Disgusting on so many levels, both of them being so young. And I mean, the suspect, this young lady, Afeni Muhammad, she had made videos, right, that are attributed to her, where she is voicing her grievances about her manager, Ms. Harris, and saying that she had been sent home from McDonald's early. Like, I guess if she was scheduled to work an 8-hour shift or something to that effect, she got sent home after she worked 6 hours as opposed to the full 8-hour shift or something like that. And she was very upset about it and saying, you know, hey, this is not over and she's going to get hers type. I'm paraphrasing, but, you know, this is not over. I'm very upset about that. She described her repeatedly as a bully. Miss Harrison, she's a bully. What she's doing to me, it is not right. You cannot just, you know, mistreat people in a workplace environment. Now, I will say, under the system of white supremacy racism, non-white people, like, perpetually, I don't think it's even anything special about right now. I think non-white people are perpetually kept in such dire conditions that any sort of fluctuations to our schedule can be cataclysmic. And I think most of us should remember the pandemic when they had those shutdowns and how it wiped out some black people. Just not being able to work for a period of time, or having a lack of clarity. Are we going to be able to work? Are we going to be able to work our normal hours? Are we going to have shortened shifts? Just all of that just totally destroyed some black people. I suspect some of us know some of those people, if it wasn't us ourselves, still trying to recuperate from all of that, right? So, system of white supremacy racism, like, it can be destructive is not the word. Having your hours, man, I talk about that all the time. Like, hey, we got folks you figured out, they don't mess you around with your schedule. They don't have you scheduled to come in 8 a.m. on Wednesday, you get off at 4, and then you turn around on Thursday and they put you on the schedule, you come in at 11 p.m. You got to work till Friday morning at 7 a.m. Like, what? Dude, what? They don't mess you around like that. You get something that's consistent, reliable, see? But confusion, that's what they do for lots of non-white people, and or, oh man, I'm thinking I got it on my schedule, I'm going to be working X amount of hours, and then they snip. By the time I get through, now I'm down to 31 hours. Like, oh man, I'd have lost, and they looking at all the money, whew, you talk about frustrating. All of that said, that is the system of white supremacy racism. None of that is worth killing a 39-year-old mother of 6. None of that. That's the sort of thing, in my opinion, all of this should be discussed in advance, because I don't really remember someone talking to me at the beginning of my career like, now, hey, you might get scheduled for 40 hours, end up working 29 hours. That sort of thing can happen, and this is what to do. If that sort of thing starts happening consistently, same thing we were talking about before. You get fired. You don't want to be hanging on to hope. Ooh, maybe they're going to pick me back up next week. Get that resume updated. We're going to move on. I also would not want to be banking if I start seeing like, oh, man, I'm, thinking we talked when I came in and got hired, and it was, hey, you'll be working a full-time schedule, 40 hours a week. And now I'm coming in and, they're snipping hours here and snipping hours there. And now I'm down. I'm not even getting 35 hours a week. Like what, come on. Might be time for me to move on. And I would say particularly any job like fast food, McDonald's, like if you are not like the owner or higher up executive, I don't think most people who are working at McDonald's, I'll say under the age of 30, especially if you're, like 25 and under, I don't think most of these folks are going to be working at McDonald's for 5 years, 3 years. I think a lot of these folks, okay, I get here, get some money while I can. I'm getting my resume updated. I'm in school or getting my skills together, what have you, so that I could get a better paying job, or at least, I'll move up, get me a manager position once that opens up, boom, 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 something like that, general manager position, something like that, whatever. But yeah, I'm not, that's not my intention to be staying and working here for 5 years or what have you. I would think that's a lot of people. That's a job with a lot of turnover. So for sure, this can't be a job that is worth my life or me killing somebody, because like, man, do I see myself working here in 5 years? If I'm that 26-year-old, like, I don't know. Man, now, if I'm the manager, and it's like, well, hey, you could be general manager. You said, maybe. Not if I'm just doing chicken nuggets. Like, no, I'm young. I go to school. I could move. Like, it's a whole lot of options. I got a whole lot of options. I'm not killing nobody for no job at McDonald's. Are you serious? Much less a 39-year-old black mother of 6. Are you serious? I would be remiss. Man, back up off me with all that black and proud. All of it. All of it. All of it. All of it. Black and proud. And it was, you get sent home, dispute about cleaning, apparently between these two young ladies and Miss Muhammad. Allegedly, she leaves, goes and gets a butcher knife from her car, and comes back same day. Man. I don't want to hear nothing about no black pride. We hear it brought up regularly about non-white conflict with other non-white people in the workplace. I might even humbly submit, very humbly, and I'm leaning a little bit on Carter G. Woodson, because he talked about this over 100 years ago in The Miseducation of the Negro, and how black people respond to black managers in the workplace as opposed to how we respond to a white manager. I humbly submit, and I could be wrong, if Miss Jennifer Harris had been white, Miss Muhammad might have had a totally different response. I am submitting, if Jennifer Harris had been white, male, female, transgender, disabled, gay, whatever, I am humbly submitting, and I could be in error, that if Jennifer Harris had been white, Afeni Muhammad would not have gone to get a butcher knife, kitchen knife, come back I'm going to kill this white person because they sent me home. Like, what? No, I do not think so. I do not think so. I could be totally wrong, but man, we get so hostile with other black people all the time. We get so hostile with other black people. That's how we have been trained. White people fire and smack us around all the time. You know this. White people fire and smack us around all the time, all over the world. She went and made a video about Miss Harris. She done sent me home and bullied me, which may have been true, at least from her perspective. But I mean, even if that is true, even if Miss Harris, let's say that's the case, she was bullying her, and maybe she had done all the cleaning correctly, talking about Miss Muhammad, the lady who's accused of the killing. Maybe she had performed all of her McDonald's workplace duties perfectly, and Miss Harris, decedent, was just harassing her in the workplace, picking on her for no reason, and messing over her hours and things, sending her home early, knowing, she's going to be missing those nickels and such. Maybe that's true. Even then, certainly it can't be, I'm going to stab this black mom to death. Like, come on. Come on. They got Burger King in Michigan, right? Jack in the Box, Waffle House, Chipotle. I mean, lots of options, right? It can't be that that's the only fast food option where I could get a job in Eastpointe, Michigan. That just cannot be. We got lots of people who get mistreated, and I mean all kinds of mistreatment in the workplace. It cannot be, I'm going to go stab this person. And I would even say a part of this case, Miss Muhammad, 26, she did what a lot of people her age and younger do. She went and got on social media before the killing and was talking about this case, her frustrations and all of that. I would say, as it relates to the workplace, unless you plan on being constructive, professional, do not get on social media. I use this platform as an example. I do not encourage people to call in to the C.O.W.S, Neutralizing Workplace Racism, and we'll just say Freddie Johnson, white or non-white person that you work with that really gets on your nerve. Man, you call in and tell us about Freddie Johnson. That no count Freddie Johnson at 555-55-5555. That no count Freddie Johnson, and he messed around. He did it. It's none of that. It's constructive, professional. You don't have to mention where you work, and most people don't. You don't have to mention any of the people that you work with, like their legal government name, and I don't think hardly anyone does in all the time that we've talked about all this. You don't have to give any personal identifying information about yourself, because it's not about identifying anyone as racist as such or bully as such. It's more about, these are things that I have experienced, and these are either ways that I have figured out to solve problems related to racism in the workplace on the job that I think would be helpful for other non-white people. See if some of these strategies work for you, or these are problems that I'm still having, and if others have figured out methods or strategies to help with some of these issues, let me know, because I'm still having difficulties. That's what this platform is about. Not to just, man, that old no-count Keisha done got on my nerves, and boy, she gonna get him, because they're gonna end up using this video in her court case. Say, look at this. This was premeditated. She got on the video and talking about, you gonna get him. That's the type of thing it was. It was not, how do you deal with workplace bullying? This is my strategy. She's bullying me, and she's young, and that's what I'm saying. Man, we have got to do, we being non-white people classified as black, and I'm doing my part with this broadcast, we've got to do a much better job talking to non-white people about the workplace. In my opinion, it's so glaring just looking at our conduct, looking at my own experience, listening to us doing this broadcast, that we have really failed, we being non-white people, non-white parents in particular, and non-white people who work with younger people, we have failed in preparing them for the system of white supremacy, and failed specifically with preparing young non-white people for the area of labor. We don't even talk to our children about our own workplace experience, which is super embarrassing. And it's no excuse for that. Even if it's, I'm ashamed and I'm uncomfortable and, well, I mean, hey, when you decided to have that child, you signed up for about 1 billion uncomfortable conversations. So shut it up, get it together. And that's an easy one. Like, I hear so many lazy, I don't even know what word to put on it, excuses. I don't know what book. They don't have a book talking to my child about racism. Hey, you could be illiterate. Talk to your child about your job and white people. And that's ongoing conversation because you still got the job. That could be ongoing for up till you retire. So you can be talking about this all the time. And that's a way so that they know the types of problems that black people experience on the job. And even if you haven't figured out what to do about these things, they will know, oh my God, my mom and dad have to deal with what? For me? It might help them behave a little better or not. And like I said, at minimum, this is now I will be better informed and prepared. Okay. Be on the lookout on the job so I can know and make better decisions. We have done like not getting on social media to rant about your boss and or employees, or coworkers, colleagues. Anyway, but yeah, she did miss, and they played the video. Do not get on IG, TikTok, Facebook Live, any other new platforms that they create. Do not go out there and I got to make a video. Jerome on my job is the lamest coon, or Whitey Susan is the lamest. Man, do not do that. You don't have to name anybody. You don't have to name your employer. If it's just, like I said, you have tips, just get to the tips. If it's you've been mistreated and you're trying to figure out strategy, just get to, this is the mistreatment. You don't have to identify anyone specifically. And this is where I need help. You can just get to that. Or presenting the scenario, situation, this is what I would do differently next time. Fine. But just rants of rage directed at specific people on your job and or your job in total, big thumbs down, especially if you're identifying folks. Oh man, gonna be using this footage in court. They've already said that, and they've already said this footage is why it's not just going to be manslaughter. So it's going to be premeditated murder, that you plan this out in advance to do this to Ms. Harris. Safety in the workplace, and again, ain't no black pride and black brother and black sister. Black brother will put a knife in your back. Ain't no metaphor like for real. Jennifer Harris, 39, mother of 6. Anywho, number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564 943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. I'll get in one email, then we'll get to folks who dialed in, retired firefighter, other folks with commentary to share. Let's see, email number 1. Greetings, Gus. I was recently laid off with other team members from my work from home job. Sorry to hear that. Lots of that going around. I was told it was not due to my performance, but the company's due direction. As I said again, you can be totally competent performing your job above and beyond, it could be everyone else in the department. But, hey, sorry about that, Leroy. Bees like that sometimes, Leroy. Beat it. I had to sign some documents, non-disclosure, and other HR items to receive a severance and my final pay. I will say those non-disclosures, like, oh man, that is something to think about, maybe even something to ask about before you take a job, depending on what the non-disclosures pertain to, because sometimes it's like company secrets and, information, all that about bombs they're building or whatever. But other times it's, we've practiced racism against you, or maybe lots of people in the organization, and we don't want you out there flapping your gums, Leroy, so hush up, that type of a thing. So just something to be aware of in these days and times, and something to think about, because I know some people have said, even if there is a financial penalty, like I don't get my severance or it's greatly reduced if I don't sign, whatever. I want the freedom to be able to run my mouth and talk about how you all practiced racism here. Let's see. I had to turn in my assigned computer. Love it that I did not hear. Had to turn in my computer because you wouldn't have had to turn it in if it was yourn. That's why I say, hey, I'm not sitting. He didn't say, I'm sweating bullets, man. I got all my pornography, man. I got all my dark web finds, man. I got all my Al Sharpton sermons, man. Ooh, I'm going to be... Whatever. I use it for work material only. That is all they will find on this machine. They could have said, hey, I don't even need no time to clean the, hard drive or sites that I visited or none of that, because it ain't nothing there but work material. Take it to the IT department. Tell them, have at it. Matter of fact, it'll be interesting to all of us if you find anything of note not related to the workplace. Continuing, I am limited on what I can say, so I will simply list some things I did per the codified behaviors learned from Mr. Fuller's books, recordings, and this cow's broadcast. Number 1, always read the termination documents and ask questions before signing. I was able to get certain line items waived in my favor. Bravo. And he said what? He said what? He said he didn't say I went in. Look here, cracker. Who do you think you messing with? Leroy, don't take... That's not what he said. I just slowly read. Oh, wait a minute. Look here. On page 3, line 32, you see that right there? You see what I'm saying? So, you gonna strike? Okay, we'll strike that. You strike that one out. Okay. Let Leroy keep reading here. Let's see. Reading is more important than watching television. Ask a question or 2. Ask a question or 8. Number 2, keep all receipts and tracking information. I am getting reimbursed for costs I incurred to return equipment. Love it. I would say specifically with the receipts, I've said this before, just making sure I'm not giving white people credit for things. I've said this before. They've had, quality pictures on phones for decades now, right? So I would say anything in the workplace, and I mean anything. I wouldn't care if they sent you to Staples to get go get us a couple erasers. It costs 50 cents. Like anything related to the workplace where there are expenses and you got to spend your money, or they give you, a company credit card or what have you, receipt, and I would say take a picture immediately. Don't wait till you get back to the office. Do it at the desk. As soon as you complete the transaction, click picture. That way you got it. If there's a barcode on the receipt, even better. That means you got it like forever. But take a picture. That way you have the information. Things happen. The wind could blow the receipt out of your hand. Could be raining. Whatever. It could get soiled. But take a picture immediately. That way you have it. You have a digital copy of it. And hey, we move forward. Make sure you get all of your nickels back, because they can sometimes, white people can be really tacky about that and make you wait 8 months to be reimbursed. Sometimes you can be reimbursed the same day as long as you have the receipts. Let's see. 3, study your employer, especially if publicly traded. I expected this layoff after studying the company and leadership. During the meeting, I prepped my laptop for return and started looking for alternative employment. See there, he didn't say, boy, I kept hope alive. commenced to praying. I pulled out my Obama bees and said, man, they're going to keep me on the payroll. Brother, keep me on the payroll. Sick white brother, keep me on. He didn't say that. He said, oh, man, let me get my resume. I see the writing on the wall. Number 4, keep a copy of all emails and attachments. That might even be one if you're using their computer device. Boop, flash drive, whatever you need to do. You can forward things or what have you. But, oh, yeah, keep copies, attachments, all of that so you have your own personal record. And I would say don't wait till the last minute, because sometimes they can do the surprise termination where you don't see it coming. So pertinent things, you can just be doing that as you're going on a constant basis so that you just regularly, maybe that, and a flash drive, that's something that you could have on your keychain, right? Or in your purse for the ladies. That would be really easy. I would say if you could get a flash drive that's like a gig, it doesn't have to be massive. Just boom, boom, boom. You put the documents on there and then you just offload them weekly basis or as, whenever needed. But that way, same thing. They come and say, give up that machine, brother. Give up that machine. You know it's not yours. No problem. You already got everything pertinent that you needed. Boop. And you can take screenshots on that device, on their device, and same thing. Save them to your drive or what have you. Email them to yourself, and you still got it. Let's see. 5, remain professional in all communications and know the governing bodies over employment where you live. I'd say that is a great one. And that's why I said about those videos, I do not recommend getting online and cursing people out and y'all gonna get me. None of that. None of that. None of that. Or even if they're going to fire you, okay, you bees, you all got me this time, but none of that. None of that. None of that. Just reading the documentation, make sure you got everything handed in correctly, and no walk of shame, because I don't have no property pinned up on the walls here all throughout an office that is not mine. Let's see. 6, take advantage of whatever reimbursement and training opportunities are provided. 7, if your employer allows you to keep equipment, get that in writing from a member of management responsible for said equipment. Now, that is a marvelous idea. I would have never, ever thought of that, because some jobs, they have particularly if you do like some jobs, computer and other jobs where you do like repair of certain equipment and such, there might be all kinds of equipment that you have. It might even be equipment that you have to take home or have with you on your person, electronic devices or whatever. Get that in writing. And that might even be one you want to be sophisticated. If it's any sort of serial number attached with that product, I know the University of Washington, they all kinds of equipment, like cars, computers, anything you could imagine, probably solar panels too. But they will do that. They have surplus items, so you could get a computer, you could get, furniture, office furniture, home for all kinds, anything, a car, anything. Same thing, because it might have that stat or something, a brand on it that this is University of Washington property, and then the serial number and all of that. If this has been decommissioned and this is mine, I worked here or I was a student or whatever, but it's mine now. Oh yeah, let's get this in. Leroy did not steal whatever box of paper clips. Leroy was given said paper clips on such and such a date, such and such a time. This is the person's name. Boop. And particularly if it's a computer, anything of value that they're going to look, you done stole a computer, the documentation right here, and I would probably scan that immediately so that I have a digital copy just in case anything happens. Same thing like I said with the receipt. Saved, anything ever comes up, Leroy done pilfered a computer or an office chair or a box of erasers. Leroy didn't pilfer a cent. Leroy got the receipts right here. Brilliant. But I would not have thought of that. Because I know there are jobs that would do that. Like, they get, lots of stuff. They replace equipment, especially if it's a bigger company. Like, oh yeah, get the hell out of here. You've been finding, take your raggedy chair with you. We getting new ones next month anyway, Leroy. Get on out of here with you. We'll take some pictures. That'll be your walk of shame since he the nigger didn't even have nothing hung up in his office. Yeah, take the chair. That way we get a picture of you going out like a loser. So you got to put the chair in the back and do something like that. I got me some of those chairs are like $1,000. They have $1,000 chairs and office furniture here at UW. So sometimes you can come up, like, get it in writing. You get one of them $1,000 chairs, write it down. And they teased me and mocked me as I was getting the chair out of the office to my vehicle, but I got it in writing, and it's my chair. Thank you. God bless. Brilliant suggestion, sir. Hopefully you will not be furloughed too long. You can use your time constructively, and you already had your resume up to date, so you can keep it moving quickly. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com, untiljustice@gmail.com. Folks who dialed in, if you have your own situation and or commentary on what has been shared thus far, feel free. Let's see. Retired firefighter in Florida should be with us.
Greetings, everyone. This is kind of awkward, but it does happen. First of all, I would like to say that's a tragic situation with the mother of 6. You don't plan to go to work to get killed. Anyway, Miami Gardens, Florida. Miami Gardens Police Department Chief Delma Noel Pratt held a news conference Thursday morning responding to discrimination allegations from a group of 5 quote-unquote Latino officers. Substitute that for white officers. We've been subject to transfers, demotions. Several of us were relieved of duty, including with no cause, a violation of the Bill of Rights. And this has been going on for several years now. Miami Gardens Police Department Sergeant Pedro Valdez said at a news conference with the group's attorney, flanked by fellow police executives from multiple local departments and from the Florida Highway Patrol, Noel Pratt pushed back strongly against the allegations, denying any racial discrimination and calling their demands that she step down or be fired misguided and misplaced. I'm not stepping down, she said. I'm not afraid of a federal lawsuit, but I do want what's right. She also said she wanted to make it absolutely clear these allegations are without merit. Every decision I make, as difficult as some may be, is rooted in operational necessity, not personal bias. And I do not operate in isolation, Noel Pratt said. She also said in reference to transfers, let me be very clear. They are made based on feasibility, staffing needs, and the goal of maintaining effective, efficient departmental operations. Officers from various racial and ethnic backgrounds, particularly non-Hispanic officers, have also been transferred under my administration, Noel Pratt said. Local 10 News asked Noel Pratt if any of the officers brought up their concerns before resorting to litigation. She said she did not want to dive into it, quote, unquote. That took place this morning with the interview, but it's been circulating in the news this week, that particular incident. I just thought I would share it with the cows.
Switching my audio back. Wow. Much obliged. Retired firefighter. So these are people classified as white, speak Spanish, and they say they're being transferred incorrectly or unjustly. And I guess it's a Is the female classified as black who's saying that this is a false charge and they move lots of people
Yes,
around?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's what's awkward about it. But it does happen. It does happen.
What I think it is.
Pardon?
You mean firefighters getting transferred? That's what happens?
No, from the standpoint of people who are racially classified as white actually filing against a non-white person that's racially classified as black, racial discrimination. It does happen. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. What was that case where it went to Supreme Court with the white? I think it was a white male that was in college, something like that, and he was saying he was being discriminated against. I don't remember too much about it exactly, but I do recall that particular case went all the way to the Supreme Court. But yeah, it's kind of like I said, it's awkward. But I think what it actually is, from the standpoint of Miami Gardens Police Department, which of course is overwhelmingly the employees are non-white people who are racially classified as black. But steadily, the area that is called Miami Gardens is being gentrified at a rapid stage, and I think this is somewhat of a part of the process of white people who speak Spanish who are moving into the area at a very rapid rate. And as black people lose their property or die off, they're not able to transfer the property to loved ones or someone they know, and it's replaced with somebody who probably has only been in this part of the world that's white, that speaks Spanish, hadn't been in this part of the world for the last no more at the best 20, 25 years or less. So it's happening, and I guess the approach is to also go at the different departments in Miami Gardens, which is law enforcement is one of the most obvious ones. Just my thoughts.
Fascinating. Those lawsuits, they are, in terms of white people making some sort of allegation that there's reverse racism or discrimination against them because they are classified as white. They are very common. I might even say increasingly common, and they win, lots of them. Like I think it was a white woman who worked at a Starbucks in Philadelphia, Seattle connection there, but they called the police on some black dudes who came in privileged, and she ended up filing a suit saying that she was a victim in all this. They got the protests and saying she did something wrong, and she ended up winning a lot of money. So I've seen. I would not be surprised at all if things work out favorably for the folks making the allegation down in Florida that you're messing us over and transferring us, and it isn't right. He said it might even be part of the whole general plan of racial dislocation of people classified as black in that part of South Florida. So it would not surprise me. You'd have a total system approach, all areas of people activity, get rid of the schools and housing and blah, 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 and jobs. All of jobs would be a part of that. But we'll have to pay attention, see how the case unfolds. But I've seen lots of white people, they are successful in those cases. So I don't know. That's kind of ominous. Much obliged, retired fighter in Florida. Star 61 for other folks who have commentary. I don't know if folks have any tips mitigating or at least to be mindful to try to minimize incidents of workplace violence, situations like what happened with Miss Harris up in Michigan. Let us know. But workplace safety. I cannot say enough. And even, I will stand by my statement. You can set Gus T straight if you think I'm up here talking fool talk. I really believe if Jennifer Harris had been white, I'll say it again, she could have been a white dude, white female, white person in a wheelchair, white person. Hey, I'm gender neutral. See, I'm not into all that. I'm intersex. I don't do all that. See, I'm non-binary. See, I don't do all that. I don't think this 26-year-old black female suspect, I don't think she goes and gets a butcher knife. I'm going to kill this 39-year-old non-binary white manager at the McDonald's because she sent me home. Or I just don't. I could be wrong. It could have been a white lesbian, white transgender, white bisexual. I don't think she's going to get that kitchen knife. You done messed me over for the last time. I got to get you up out of here. I could be totally wrong. But again, I'm leaning on Carter G. Woodson, my own experience in studying the system of white supremacy racism. I have seen white people mess over black people in every kind of way you can imagine. I'm going to come back and get you. I mean, I guess that happens a few times here and there, but man. Anyway, let's see. Non-Clemson grad, double O dimples, Mama C with us as well. Let's see.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Let's see what I have in my notepad. So let's see. Gus, you said something about the woman who killed the mother at the fast food restaurant. As unfortunate as this is, I think one of the things you said is that couldn't that person have gone to another fast food restaurant and continued? And I think the answer to that statement is right now, no. Within the last year, one of the things during the Biden administration they tried to do away with was something called non-competes, at least on for service-type jobs, especially for service-type jobs. So people who work service-type jobs like, McDonald's or, the mall, work in retail or something like that, for whatever reason, these people are usually forced to sign non-competes. And as a result, it keeps them from getting the same type of job, whether you try to go from McDonald's to Burger King to Wendy's, etc., in your immediate region. And as a result, you can find people getting stuck in their job, unable to move. So that kind of situation can also fester when people feel like they can't move and get a job that might pay better, even though it's another fast food restaurant, because they legally can't fight these non-competes. So let's see. Before moving to South Carolina, I applied for a job in Hampton Roads, Virginia. I got an interview, but already took the job I currently have here in South Carolina. Several years later, I will learn about a black male 40 miles, roughly 30 miles away in Virginia Beach, went postal fatally shooting 12 people, mix of black and white people, mostly white, I believe, and wounded 4 others before he was killed by responding police. Considering the interagency nature of my work, I could have easily been one of those 12, if not more people killed. Where I work in South Carolina, I work for the county, but my position working for a metropolitan planning organization means that my job takes me to surrounding counties and cities as well too for interagency work and collaboration. Though you might not, some people might not imagine that a black person cannot bring themselves to go kill a white person if a white person is mistreating them as their manager. Unfortunately, that situation in Virginia several years back, it happened in 2019. That was a black man that did that shooting, and he killed quite a couple of white people. Yeah, I think get it anywhere, especially nowadays with people losing their jobs. They're becoming highly stressed, and so unfortunately, some people don't deal with stress well, and they can fall into some very, very negative and even fatal behaviors. As of July 11th, I passed my skills test and obtained my Class B CDL. When the examiner arrived, I was relieved to see it was a black man. Before starting, me and the examiner simply talked about our experiences and education background. The examiner had an interesting background, including degrees in transportation and clinical psychology. He also had certifications in safety and OSHA compliance. Basically, are you doing things working in a workplace, based on OSHA federal standards for keeping people safe? And, we talked about, he's born and raised in South Carolina, but, in a different part, the southern part of South Carolina. And he talked about, management people who are above him. And like too many times, as a black person, you train and get all these certifications, all this education, all the things that come with it. And when you try to go for these positions, like myself and many other black people, you do everything that they say you need to do, and then they hire some white person. And then worse than that, you find that the white person that they hire for the job is incompetent. And worse, they want you to train the incompetent person to be better at their job. And this is a man who's probably in his late 40s, early 50s. So roughly 10 to 15 years older than me. And here he is with all these clear skills, and he is just, very hard to move up. Ironically, he told me a very interesting story. So he is basically the safety person for the city. And when the county was trying to hire the safety person, he was invited from the city to help in with the interview process at the county. It turned out that at the time, the county hired no one to take on the position for whatever reason. Maybe they felt like the people weren't qualified to do the job. And after they determined that all the people that they interviewed were not qualified to do the job, they turned around to this black man, my examiner, the one who certified me as a CDL Class B driver, and said to him, "The person we really want is you." The black man turned to them and said, "Well, shoot, if you want me, you need to pay me the money that I want." Unfortunately, the county was unwilling or unable, or whatever excuse, fill in a blank, to pay this man this money, so he remained with the city at this time. When I was done doing my CDL examination, he was entering my paperwork into the computer system so that I could take it to the DMV and get my full CDL license. And while there, we met up with the trainer, the person who trained me to drive the city buses. And during our conversations, one of the things the trainer said to the tester was like, "Hey, the transit agency needs you, would like to have you." And we talked about that as well before we started the exam. And one of the things he said is that I don't want to do that job, at least to me in the initial term. I don't want to do that job because you can get called at all hours of the night because, buses, they start like roughly 5:30 in the morning and they end at 11:30 at night. And, when you're driving these buses, they constantly get into crashes, whether it's sideswiping trees or utility poles. And, those are very, very minor things and no one necessarily gets hurt. You still have to respond to them, and he doesn't want to deal with that. And the trainer asked him, like, "Hey, would you consider coming to the transit agency?" And he was like, he turned to the man and said, excuse me, "If I'm going to come to that job, I'm going to need to get about $120,000. And the trainer turned around and said, "Well, I think we can get you to about $100,000. I imagine that the tester is going to stay in his current position with the city." Next story. Another black male that me and my family, me and my wife know, used to be a hotel operating manager who on several occasions trained people who were promoted above him. He was asked to train another person after they promoted that person above him, and he quit. Since quitting, and this is over 10 years ago now, that hotel has now fallen into disarray. I remember through the years as I've continued to work through my professional career, having conversations with my mother, and she would tell me about situations in her office where, people will come in, whether it be maybe even interns, all the way up to people who might know someone who get a job because of, who they know. And my mother and her immediate coworkers would be asked to train these people. And, a couple times, especially early on in their careers, they would go ahead and train these people, and then before you know it, including interns, were being promoted above them to become their bosses and managers, even though they themselves were not as competent as people like my mother and her immediate coworkers who were also her friends. She also told me how one of her friends, coworkers, who's also a godfather to one of my sisters, ended up quitting his job early and going into early retirement because he could not take that situation anymore. My mother, before she retired from her job, one of the things that she did was, especially when it came to training people, especially interns, she would give them very simple instructions. And basically, it's not that the particular things were hard, but it turns out that these particular interns and all these people that she was constantly training were just simply that dumb. Amazing how that works out, right? And basically, these people, she found ways to just simply weed these people out by giving them instructions that they clearly were too incompetent to follow. Let's see, I got one more story. As of, I think, yesterday, work from home is coming to an end in my office. In its place, the option for 4-day work week, 10-hour work days are replacing it. I asked if the policy changed because of work from home, because people were not getting work done. The director responded that the policy is a relic, that's lawyer talk, because he is a lawyer, and the new policy brings the department in line with the city and the rest of the county, as the planning department, the department I worked in, was the last department with work from home policies. Obviously, people are losing their jobs. I am not making light of that. But obviously, a lot of these employers, they're rationing up not rationing up. They are squeezing people in the work environment for whatever reason. I guess for some people it's more control, or it's opportunities to fire people. If you want to work from home and you're not willing to report to the office, we will fire you. And a lot of people have gotten fired for that reason. Things like that. So it's been very interesting to see how these things have played out. I do find it very interesting when my director told me about this, that word relic. Work from home is not a relic. I just think, because clearly I imagine we all know someone that's working from home in some capacity or another. But the fact that he used the word relic really shows that, he was trying to find a way to be clever in his language while trying to act like, like nothing, it was some kind of antiquated system that simply was not working. Fine. But also, he said that initially when he was announcing the policy to the department, that it was a decision made on high. It seemed to me that he went out of his way to mention his immediate boss, the black woman, who was the woman who signed up on my engineering license. Now, I do not know if she herself had a hand in this policy, but I will personally say that I do think she had a hand in it. Nevertheless, I did find it very interesting that for him to soften the blow in announcing that the work from home policy was coming to an end, he brought up this black woman's name that everyone knows, even though he's the new person in the office, the white guy. Interesting how that works. Somehow a black person seems to take a hit, more so than the white person who's announcing the change. And with that, I will mute my line.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's Nurse Rivers. That's Nurse Rivers again. Now, hey, we got a whole team of white men, doctors, scientists, racists, experimented on privileged Negro males for decades. And Nurse Rivers is to blame. Yep, she was there the whole time, right there. See? That black woman right there. She did it. they come. Yeah, we ladies, gentlemen, we gonna wrap up this here work from home policy. It's a relic, It's antiquated. It's gone the way of the dinosaurs. It just doesn't work. It had its time, but we're wrapping it up. And the person you can thank for that, right over there. See, black female, right there. She basically runs the whole company. What? Wait a minute now. What? Ow. If you got any questions or you upset about it, there you go. Right? What is it? I think really it. Blame the black people. Yes. Much obliged, non-Clemson dad. Excellent point about the non-competition preventions, where I guess it might be a bit more challenging. The suspect in killing Miss Jennifer Harris up in Michigan, maybe she couldn't just hop to Hardee's, Jack in the Box, White Castle and get another fast food job. Maybe. I still don't think that's grounds to stab. And I'm not sure. Oh, and to my point, old slick valedictorian, I do and did remember Andre Marcus Bing and him killing those folks in Virginia, 2022. And I remembered, because we talked about it in great detail, Omar Thornton, Connecticut, 2010. As a matter of fact, that was the summer of 2010. 15 years. And they got him on the 911 call that we played saying, I'm going to kill people at this brewery because they practice racism. Or it might not have been a brewery, but liquor factory, whatever. I'm going to kill them because they practice racism. And I think they fired him on the day that he killed, I think it was 8 people, and allegedly killed himself. But we played the 9, and he said racism specifically. We talked about that case a lot. I do remember those cases, but I mean, that's 2. Now, we've been on the air for 16 years, so I had 24 hours to think about this. I thought of 2. We've played thousands of cases of white people mistreating black people all the time. 2. Now, I have to stop black people from talking about, ooh, Leroy, I'm about to go upside his head on the... That's like, oh my God. The archives is... That's why, like, man, yeah, I'm not saying it never happens, because for sure we did discuss Omar Thornton in great detail, and even Mr. Bing, B-I-N-G, because Neutralizing Workplace Racism did exist when that happened. And the VA, how would I miss that? That's 2. If anybody has any others, black people with all of the cases that we know of and don't know of, if anybody has any others where a black person said, Leroy has had it up to here. Oh, we had a person who dialed in. They called him a nigger, and he put him in the headlock and commenced the wailing on him a little bit. So I can think of like 3. I'm sure it's been a few others, but I mean, it's... Woo. Oh, and the black female who cracked that white woman upside the head. She was spraying the Lysol. We just talked about that one, and the white woman shoved her. Although I don't know if I would count that, because that's kind of a... So yeah, retract. That one doesn't count. That's the white woman actually touched her first. Anytime a white person touches you first, like that is not. I'm talking about you got upset about getting fired or mistreated or whatever. Not somebody shoved you, elbowed you, and you felt afraid and struck them back. So yeah, I can really only think like 3 cases, and that's having more than 24 hours to think about it. It's not too free, given the immense amount of mistreatment that white people dole out in the workplace. That is at least noteworthy to me. But I think it's a lot more than noteworthy, but that's what I'll say just to be, minimal at the moment. Any hoodles. I remember non-Clemson dad said, hey, I am focusing on learning, acquiring new skills, new experiences. Wow, that's spoken like a valedictorian. Now he's out doing the CDL and passing the skills test. Man, be governor of South Carolina before we know it. Man, or even real irony, end up messing around and be the provost at Clemson or something. Have Ben Tillman rolling over in his grave. Jesus. Let's see. And he talked about meeting another privileged black male. You train and do all this to get all these skills, and then they still, get on out of it. Yeah, get on. Say it's hard to move up for a privileged black male. Make it difficult for you. Privileged. He said he went over and the folks, I think if I got it correctly, he was with the city and the folks at the county said, hey, we'd love to steal you over here, Leroy. Like, man, maybe. And he said, think I'm going to need about $120,000. Or you'd have to pay me, the correct number. because he had the two different pays, but he said, you'd have to pay me, the correct number. I said, whoa, Leroy, a little up. They wouldn't do it. Hey, know your worth, especially if you've gone through all these other lame white candidates. You got all your nepotism candidates and crony favorites. And, oh, man, all these white people lame, ignorant. Yeah, we gonna need Leroy. Leroy, he actually, come on, Leroy. We get, and then they think they're gonna get Leroy on the cheap. If Leroy is the best, then come on, pay me like that. Never mind. They got, Fuller said they got money to start all these old phony wars and everything. You got a qualified, competent black male, privileged. We're gonna pay that. Think you better stay on over in the city, Leroy. County won't be able to come on. Privileged. Let's see. He says the hotel operating management position for the privileged black male. We talked about that before in great detail because that does not exist. A black hotel manager, like CEO, like that's like seeing an albino squirrel. Like, what? Who? Where? What's your name? Let me see. And from what he told us in his, exactly, that does not exist. Black brothers say, hey, I'm one of the few black, what you mean? What? You the move? You the gave? Hey, wait a minute. Leroy was doing a good job. Leroy, and now, I say that all the time. I said it today, thank God. I say it all the time. You can be really, you can be valedictorian competent at your job. Best of the best. You can be better than all the other lames that they got in the building. You can be fired in the next 5 seconds. Maybe they got a reason, maybe they don't. That is the system of white supremacy racism. He even said, hey, it seems Leroy might have been doing a good job. Maybe. They put in whatever lanes that weren't qualified. And he said, uh-oh, hotel don't look like it's doing so well now. Hey, could have left Leroy. Things were doing okay. Right? Or maybe say, hey, Leroy is to blame for all this. If Leroy had stayed, all this would have been bad on his watch, but they moved him out and it just made us look bad. But it's Leroy's fault. See? Maybe. Either way, they don't have no whole lot of Leroys to blame for the hotels because they don't have black hotel managers. We talked about that explicitly. I can't believe we talked about that explicitly. Anyway, what they do have, they don't have black hotel managers. What they do have, white interns who become CEOs. They got lots of that. Hotel industry, food industry, education, any field you can think of, and I can say the same thing I said before. They got white female interns, white male interns, white gay interns, white LGBTQ interns, white non-binary interns who went from, hey, I was getting coffee, making sure I got everybody gluten-free snacks, and now I'm the CEO with the big office. You got lots of that. And Negroes who train them along the way who are way more qualified. Hey. I resent it. Have old valedictorian talking about you got these old dumb white people like, ow. Man, that valedictorian talking about how dumb we Wait a minute. We all can't be blessed to have smart parents and go to the good schools. Wait a minute. We trying. The white people, well, take the white people, maybe they're not trying, but yeah, thank you. They got these old dumb white people in here and they get promoted, and man, we're gonna try and do better, man. We're gonna try and do better. He said the white people on the job, his job specifically, said the same thing. I just read they had it in the Seattle Times this week. Amazon, they are doing away. Oh, it's Starbucks. I'm not wrong. Amazon was ahead of the curve. They already did this. Starbucks this week, I think within the last 24 hours, they said the same thing. We are done. This work from home, you get your hind parts in the office now. Starbucks is local 206 product, right? People didn't know that. And Amazon. But they just said the same thing. We're going to do our part. All of the work from home is a relic. It doesn't even work. Get on in here. I shared it online this week as well. Brother say he asked, are y'all getting rid of the policy because it doesn't work? Write that brother's name down. They gonna say, and he wonders why he does not get the positions. Come in here and ask us some questions like that old slide. Write his name down. Write his name down. Don't answer your question. It's a relic, sir. We're done with work from home. Next.
Actually, that's your last thing. That there's an extension to that story in a different way. One of my students, I was teaching her before the C.O.W.S started, and we teach right out of our house. And her second to last lesson, she came in and she saw me on my phone and my headset. And at the time, I was on a Zoom meeting. Because I personally sometimes, instead of doing it on my laptop, I just do it on my phone. It allows me to take a walk while listening to pointless meetings. And she asked me, do people who are work from home really work from home? And my answer to her is it depends on what the people's jobs are. If you're me, I'm the kind of person that gets whatever responsibilities I have done relatively quickly. So if I got 40 hours to do something, or rather you gave me 40 hours to do something, I get it in 10. My response to that is I'm going to go do something productive with the next 30 hours of my time, right? Whether it's going to run errands or do whatever I do, even if I'm working from home. I think this is true in the workplace as well, too, but obviously it's a little hard to do in the workplace because, they're looking on you like the sun. And, all the things they do in that situation. And to me, I came across a very interesting video a little while ago that said the 40-hour work week is a form of punishment for efficient workers. People who tend to work and get things done quickly are now forced to literally stay at work even though they themselves have nothing to do. And people who are, needed time should get the time out, absolutely. And, of course, those who don't have enough time probably don't get to keep their jobs for the most part. But if you are an efficient worker and you get your stuff done quickly, you are basically held hostage, being forced to stay even though you are done with your job.
Fascinating. I don't know. That is an interesting question from a child. I mean, great question. Do people who work from home, do they work from home? It really depends. It really depends. Some people do, and some people are in their footies all day long. Or remember Jeff Tubin? Remember? See, some people work and get a lot of things done. And then we got old Jeff Tubin. But that, hey. Any hoodles. But that is fascinating. He up there asking why they get rid of the old work. And apparently enforcing it, because that's what I've said all along. They can talk all this, Starbucks or anybody else. They can talk all this, we're going to get rid of work from home and you got to be here and blah, blah, blah. And, at the end of the day, is this going to be enforced? Yay or nay? And that's the case with any policy. Is this going to be enforced? Answer seems to be yes. In non-Clemson dad's case, yeah, we are. Because during the pandemic, you did end up with a lot of white people, some of them who they really don't live close to the job. It would be an impossible. Some of these people don't live in the same state, or at least they live, more than an hour away or whatever. So, or white defiance again. I'm not going to do it. They had some of that appear when Amazon, and like I said, Amazon was ahead of everybody on this one. So when they said this, there were a lot of white people who work at the Amazon here in the Seattle area, but they don't live in the Seattle area. And so they said, hey, you're going to have to show me you are serious about the enforcement of this policy. We shall see. I would suspect if you're classified as black, Oh, for sure. You'd better have your hind parts in the office immediately. It is not going to be no grace period or we were messing around like we already told you, Leroy. Congratulations, non-Clemson dad, passing the skills test CDL. End up being governor of South Carolina or, running the town, at least mayor. That seems kind of a low bar at this point. Like, man. Much obliged. Let's see. Do the people work from home, really? Come on. Let's see. Other folks who dialed in, *61, if you have commentary, the number 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press *61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Email number 2. Hi, Gus and Cal's audience. Oh yes, right-wing Ashley claims all manner of issues under the neurodivergence umbrella and pulls them out of her back pocket as an excuse when required. Tristan brought up right-wing Ashley's claims and likely grievance at our catch-up on Monday. He told me to document everything. I heard that a few times. Cross-examine me about what happened and how I feel about her. That I should be honest and say how I feel. Obviously, I didn't tell him how I really feel about the lying heifer. I kept it focused on her behavior. That Zoe, Shauna, and I were supportive of right-wing Ashley, and therefore her behavior is surprising and unnecessary. He said I should keep talking to him, especially as things could get nasty, and reiterated the need for documentation. What does that mean? Does that mean like I could get stabbed? Like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Things could get nasty? Like, what? Why? Who? What is that? That's what man. Woo, the plantation is unsafe. And, just, wow. Anyway, let's continue. We talked about her underperformance and what resources I need as senior execs have given the go-ahead to the projects I lead. Unfortunately, it's unlikely management will remove right-wing Ashley, probably because of her pending grievance. What was interesting was Tristan told me he had planned to give right-wing Ashley more of the work under my work streams before these issues came up. In other words, right-wing Ashley went behind my back to complain to him. Tristan doesn't know what I've asked her to do. Up until that point, he never asked me. I let him know just how incompetent and insubordinate she is. He talking about all these incompetent white people. Man. I later told Zoe what he said about giving right-wing Ashley more work. She looked stunned, which let me know they had had a conversation before she'd spoken to me. Today was supposed to be right-wing Ashley's performance review. Apparently she's had a death in the family, so needed the afternoon as leave. I don't know about that. That's like who was this? Was this like a cousin, a grandparent, an aunt, a niece? Your cousin-in-law, like the cat. I'm not mocking death. I'm casting suspicion. Like, really? Master deceiver, really? You just, timing just worked out that you had a death in the family right at the moment of your performance in the review, at the moment that you have a grievance and things are about to get nasty. Like, raised eyebrow, continuing. What's interesting is she messaged me earlier to say she would be attending the volunteering day tomorrow. Yes, another waste of a day. Now, see, that's what I mean, because I hadn't read that extra sentence. If it's a death in the family, that's serious. You know, if this is legitimate, if it's a death in the family and this is a legitimate thing, and you know, even you know, if it's the cousin-in-law, like real distant cousin-in-law, but if this is a serious thing, and you know, I'm going to get the arrangements together, and I mean that's a big process, right? And make sure everything goes, and the final arrangements. Are we going to do the funeral and blah 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 and all of that? I'm helping out with all that and coordinating family, people coming in. Okay, great. But I mean, if this is legitimate, like, oh my, or even this was someone close to me and maybe I'm not doing all that, I'm just legitimate grieving, you know, and just hurting with my family and loved ones, or personally by myself, no problem. How in the world is it I'm not here today for the performance review in the midst of grievance and all the rest of it, but I am here 24 hours later for volunteer time? At minimum, like, what are the priorities again? Like, I mean, hey, why not take both days, right? And just my view, I think probably 99% of employees, if this is, you know, what you say, you had a death in the family and you need today off, whew, if all we do tomorrow is sit around, mess around for some volunteer day and goof off, man, take 2 days. Take the rest of the week, whatever. It's Thursday anyway. Take the rest of the week off, and, you know, we'll catch you on the condolences. Hey, that'll give us more time. We can get one of those tacky cars together, and we go around and molest all the black people. Now, come on now. Give us a few dollars. You know she had death. Come on. You know, we can do it up real nice by the time you get back on Monday. So take 2 days off if we're just goofing off. Why are you here for volunteer day? But you can't come for the performance review? You can't even do a half day for the come on. Now I got extra side. I like, yeah, buddy, master, and that's such like a crass lie. Like you just said, I don't feel well. You know, death in the family. you gotta either way, because now you got a death in the family, so I'm not coming to work today, but I'm coming for volunteer day tomorrow. Like what? Continuing. People will be oh my God. See, it just gets worse as we roll. People will be traveling 200 miles. That's 200 miles to pick up leaves in a park, damaging the environment while claiming to be worried about the environment. Travel costs paid through taxpayer money. By the way, this is on top of a direct. Y'all couldn't rake leaves closer to. I'm sorry for being ignorant, privileged black male. Why could you? I mean, really, I thought this was like maybe y'all were going to some like swank resort or something, and maybe it's like a beach or something cool. Get up. Why are you all traveling 200 miles to rake leaves? Like they don't have. It's no leaves to rake at all. No yard. y'all couldn't have picked up trash. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive ignorant, privileged black male. This is why we don't get promotions. And, you know, black brother that they say they wouldn't give him the salary. That's why I have you up here, you know, being immature. Woo. Okay. I'm sorry. They traveled 200 miles. I cannot, like, I'm flabbergasted. Like, what? What? Let's proceed. Whew, I can't get up. More wasted days and enforced fun time. I mean, you want to talk about waste. Woo. Back to right-wing Ashley. I'm going to see if she's over her family bereavement and able to attend the volunteering day tomorrow and report to the cows. I think it's a way of avoiding the bad performance appraisal that's coming her way. Zoe told me that a few days earlier, right-wing Ashley asked her to provide a character witness to support a travel visa application. Allegedly, they need a written statement on what she's like as a person, her work attendance, and work performance. Zoe said alarm bells started ringing. Why? I don't know. Why? Why is that? Why? Why the alarm bells? Because she's trying to get this visa, or because she would have to do this application and anyway. She questioned why. Oh yeah, okay. She questioned why travel visa application would need to know about her work performance. Ashley made some excuse. Zoe then looked up the application requirements, but couldn't see where details of a person's work performance was needed. Right-wing Ashley then said, "It's fine. I probably don't need it." Right-wing Ashley is not very clever schemer who thinks everyone else around her are idiots. Y'all think she was trying to scheme to just get that is what in master deceit. Now, I would not have even thought of that. Like, she's just trying to scheme to get some sort of really positive review of her work performance, so that she can have that as a take that. See, she thinks that I am amazing, and this person is thinking that I'm just writing for her visa, whatever, and she's just going to snip out the rest of are you serious? Master deceiver. She's not even a quality liar. The white women immediate this heifer is up to no good. Oh no, I'm not. What is going on? Anywho, who do you work with? What kind of... Continuing. Just before we moved teams, Shauna spoke to me about right-wing Ashley's line management arrangements when Zoe goes on maternity leave. The plan was to move her across to Tristan's team, and I take over as her line manager, as most of her work comes via the projects I lead. That idea seemed to disappear. I didn't think too much of it, as plans change regularly, and it was no big deal, as I really didn't like the idea. A few weeks ago, right-wing Ashley told me she was concerned that very posh white woman would be her manager. At that time, I thought I was going to be her manager, but assumed no one had told right-wing Ashley, so I didn't say anything. Zoe told me right-wing Ashley was canvassing for a new manager. Apparently she wanted Monique, non-white black female, to be her manager. Monique is in the same team as me and has nothing to do with right-wing Ashley's work. But right-wing Ashley likes her because Monique is anti-black and has undermined me. Now I think Zoe was being mischievous. I'm sure she was expecting me to ask if Ashley said she didn't want me to manage her. I didn't ask. I don't care. I'm glad she doesn't want me to manage her. I get the same wages regardless, but clearly right-wing Ashley must be talking negatively about me. Reason 1000 why I need her out of my face. Right-wing Ashley also wanted Shelley to manage her, but apparently changed her mind after Shelley told her she couldn't leave the office early when Zoe was on leave. The girl goes into the office once a month, but finds reason to leave early. Right-wing Ashley now thinks the very posh white woman will be a great manager for her. We'll see. What right-wing Ashley doesn't realize is that people are already talking about her in not very good ways and preparing to formalize her underperformance. And the racist ex-manager no longer works for the organization, so they do find ways to get rid of white people from time to time. I'm sure she will land on her feet. Metaphor. Much obliged. Even that, when they start allowing lots of black people, not that this should be the case, but where you can have a lot of black people who are allowed to underperform, yet they can stay on the job and malinger and behave in this manner. Getting closer to a system of justice, at minimum, getting closer to eroding the system of white supremacy racism. But I haven't seen it. I've seen the exact opposite, where you have we already heard, privileged, overqualified, overachieving black people deny. We're gonna make it hard on you. We're gonna make it hard. They don't make it hard on these old lame, shiftless, lazy, underperforming white workers. They don't make it. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Let us know if you have suggestions, problems, thoughts to share. Make sure I get in the game. It is hot. They've had heat advisories here in the Seattle area and Pacific Northwest for, I think, the entire week thus far. It's 80 degrees here in Seattle, which I guess for a lot of places in the continental U.S. and even Hawaii, that would, I think that's kind of a typical summer day for most. And in fact, I think for many areas, 80 degrees would be a reprieve. Georgia, I think Atlanta, any day in July. And let's see. What's the Atlanta's weather for today? Would they trade for 80 degrees in Atlanta? Oh, it's 81. Oh, wait a minute. The high today was 91. I forgot. So it's 10:30 in Atlanta right now, and it's 81 degrees. It's not even 7:30 yet in Seattle. It is still bright and sunny, and the high today here was 84. The high today in Atlanta was 91. The high today in Atlanta was 91, and it was cloudy with rain. So that means it was super muggy and 91. And we only had a high of about 84, 81 now, and no rain. High tomorrow in Atlanta of 90. I don't think it's going to be over 75 tomorrow in Seattle. So, again, I think most places in the continental U.S. and Hawaii, they would easily trade 80 degrees, sunny day, no clouds, humidity is not too bad. For a July summer, I'll take that. But that was a heat advisory for here in Seattle. So drink your water for people who have jobs where you have to be outside the workplace safety. If you have to be outside, construction work, anything of that nature, even the folks who are doing patrol, street traffic, making sure that everybody, like school children and all that, get across the street safely. Drink your water and plenty of it. And again, it might be black self-respect, counter-racism, to speak up about the dangers of the heat. If that means hey, maybe we need water, maybe we need breaks, maybe we need, some sort of shade apparatus. Maybe we might even have to switch up the times, because they have done that with some jobs where, as opposed to the normal work schedule, doing this 9 to 5 or whatever, we might have to do this a little bit earlier, a little bit later, whatever the case may be. But hey, heat is serious. People do die from heat, and hey, that is not something to play around with at all. And especially areas where if it's warmer than it customarily has been, well, we have to make adjustments. That's why it might be an act of counter-racism and self-preservation. Speak up about the heat, drink lots of water, stay hydrated. Let's see, other folks' commentary, and/or we have thoughts. Jennifer Harris, I don't know if other people saw that situation out in Michigan. Black mom, 39 years old, stabbed to death by a 26-year-old black female coworker. I submit there's some anti-blackness there, but the workplace super unsafe for lots of reasons. Take it seriously. Any sort of conflict in the workplace that was talked about extensively in Gavin DeBecker's The Gift of Fear. Take it seriously. Be even conflict that doesn't involve you per se, because sometimes people get upset and they just come back and it's violence directed at the entire office or workplace type of a thing. So, and even this situation, someone with a knife and stabbing, hey, it could have been very easy. People trying to break that up to have gotten stabbed in the process and all the rest of it. So any incident or situation of violence, threats, arguments, take that serious in the workplace, especially if people are not being professional, like it's gotten rowdy and all that. Gavin DeBecker, Gift of Fear. Let's see. Other folks, they have commentary and or suggestions for the workplace. *61. Give folks about 5 minutes, see if they have additional thoughts, observations. We will be here on Friday, continuing Greg Olson's If Loving You Is Wrong, Mary Kay Letourneau, White Child Rapist, Seattle History. We have not even got that far in the book, picking up our 4th installment tomorrow, normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll continue the same question I've been asking the whole time. Is this an act of racism? People who, heard about this from way back when, late 90s, did you process, think about this, or even hear people talk about this as an act of racism, that this white Seattle area teacher would choose a non-white child to rape in an area that, doesn't even have tons of non-white people? We will continue tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, Seattle History. And certainly we'll be here Saturday, compensatory call-in, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Catch up on what has transpired over the past 7 days on the Global Plantation Summertime 2025. Lots to report, but normal time this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Compensatory call-in. We'll see. Folks can let us know if they, for other, like the person who wrote in, she was telling us about the Volunteer Day they got to drive 200 miles for. If they're having any of these workplace like picnics, gatherings, because I've worked jobs where they've had this, we got to get together, meet up outside, go do like a barbecue or anything of that nature, like codify immediately. One, I try and ascertain that. Do I have to go? Is this going to be a 200-mile excursion? Right? I would start getting those questions immediately. If it's something, 5 minutes down the road, that's everything. Okay. Is it mandatory that we go? Is it during work hours? So you get all the pertinent questions, okay? Codify if you are going to be present. Certainly, I'm going to be sober. I don't know if this is a guest type of thing, because I've been to some of these where it was just kind of a faculty employees only, and I've been to some of the others where it's more of a party, +1, +3 type of a thing. So I would just, we're going to be sober. If you can have backup with you, 1 or 2 people who, are also codified, just make sure things don't get out of hand. If people are drinking liquor, you have additional witnesses, you have help to make sure, like you all set the timer. Hey, we're going to linger for 30 minutes. We get something to drink, water, we chat, we observe, and then now we can leave early. Anything, untoward, anything like that happens, somebody hears a racist joke, we already have our signal together, bing, and we just go ahead and get to the car. But we're going to try, see if we can do our 30 minutes, and that way nobody can get blamed. You didn't come. You're not a team player. Nope. We were there. See, we got the pictures right there. We were there. Oh, man, I must have missed it. Yes, you did. There was so many people out there, but we were right there. See, we talked to Bob and everybody else, and, but codify your participation and even how long you're going to be there. If you even got to go. Like you said, the young lady who wrote her, she says 200 miles down the road. I'm not going to be in attendance. And I love it. You can couch it in an environment, hey, that's a long way to go. A lot of green wasting. You know how to use that terminology exacting. But I mean, hey, I'm trying to be cautious with my travel, save Mother Earth. And then I got other family, things to take care of that way. I got lots of things going on. But yeah, I definitely, I'm cautious. about my travel. What they say, I want to lessen my carbon footprint, you see. So, love it. To rake leaves, though, like real talk. Y'all could have picked up trash around the building where they work. Seriously. I mean, it's got to be a park, a school within, I'm going to say, a 15-mile radius of where they go into work. I think that's very reasonable that there is either a park and or a school somewhere within a 15-mile radius of that location. They could have went, and I mean, we are going to have this place sparkling. And or any roads. It doesn't have to be, let's not limit ourselves. It doesn't have to be the park, the school. They could have picked the worst looking street in a 15-mile radius. We're going to go get our trash bag, get our rakes, and we're going to have that street sparkling. And they can put up a little banner done by, Brinkles Corporation, Bravo. And it'd be a great little public service and a little commercial like, oh, wow, they came out and got it looking all nice. And, man, this place has been terrible. I've been throwing down trash and, beer cans for the longest, and they went and got all that out of it. Wow. Nah, we got to go 200 miles with a rake? Come on. Come on. That's the goofiest thing I've heard in at least a week. At least a week. In a world dominated by white supremacy, racism, I hear goofiness all the time. White people are ignorant about racism. I hear goofiness all the time. But we're going to travel 200 miles to rake leaves? My head hurts. Let's see. Look, everybody, we had spectators, I guess. I know folks are doing the family reunions and all that such summertime travel. But looks like we might not have other folks who have commentary or incidents to share for this here week. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Looking like folks might be, if folks are, I was going to say real quick, if things are that great, make sure you invest. Like, wow, if you all got through Juneteenth and all the holidays and everything else, and you didn't get furloughed or nothing of that nature, and you just employed, and white people call you by your correct name, they don't do no pranks or nothing like that on you in the workplace. You don't even have to worry about no arguments and such with other non-white people. Y'all get along. Everything is at least cordial and professional. Man, come on. How did you do this? You let us know and invest. Racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button in the top right corner. You'll see the links. PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Enormous gratitude to the folks who kept us broadcasting for 16 years. But if things are that rosy for you in the workplace, share a few nickels and share how you did this. Let's see. Our caller, privileged black male, tumbling dice, with us once again. Let's see. Summertime for our privileged black driver. How goes it, sir?
Hi, Gus. Good evening. I'd just like to say that there was an incident out in Southern California a couple of years ago where there was a black man working for Southern California Edison, and what they were doing. There was a white male and a so-called Hispanic male that was his supervisor. And it was about Christmas time, I think it was in 2011. And they were supposed to get a bonus. And they gave everybody in the office a bonus except this black male. And he asked them why he didn't get his bonus, and I think they told him something to the effect that he was shiftless, something like that. And he didn't say nothing. He went to work the next day. I think he took his wife out to dinner on the Thursday night, and then that next morning he told his wife, he said, "Well, I'll call you later." And the next day, which was on a Friday, I think he executed them two guys, the white male and the Hispanic male. It was a big deal because it was all over the news, and they didn't want to. They tried to downplay as that he was, crazy and stuff like that, but they didn't want to put it in the media that it was that they practiced white supremacy, racism against him. And on my side of the fence here, they have with the school, they usually have this event where they want everybody from all schools to get together, and they all congregate, and you could see the fakeness with everybody. Everybody they don't like each other, but they all get together and act fake. So I'm not going to go to it this Monday. I'm going to go to the clinic and get a urgent care or something, and get a report, and say that I'm sick, and so because I don't want to be around that. Because last time I was there, they were making jokes about my lip. So I said, "Oh, we're just joking. Oh, you got," but basically they're trying to say like I got sambo lips. So I'm not going this year based on that. I'm gonna stay home, and I'm gonna have my sick chip to show that I was sick. So that's all for now, Gus. And I got some more stuff to tell you, but I'm gonna wait and see how everything transpires next week, and then I'm gonna let you know. Thanks for letting me share.
Much obliged, Tumbling Dice, privileged black male. They have articles going back decades for racism at SoCal's Edison group, alleging racism against black employees. Going back like before Mary Kay Letourneau, going back before the O.J. Simpson trial, like long time of the exact behavior that he described in terms of black employees not getting promotions, not getting paid the same amount of money, just everything, all the mistreatment that you can imagine. And in this going on for decades and decades and decades, I did not see any instances of black people going to kill anyone in retaliation. I'm not saying they should have. I'm just saying that's what I mean. Like this is so widespread. I just can't really think of many examples of. Or in Tumbling Dice, they did say that he did get riled up on the bus that day when the teacher told him to put that child on the bus. He said, "I'll blow your brains out, Whitey. You don't talk to me. I'm tumbling it." So I guess maybe we had that one on the list too. Which is interesting because if Tumbling Dice is really that, threatening, and you look at him tough and he'll blow your nose off. Why would they pick on him at the get together and look old Tumbling Dice got them big nigger lips. Now which is it? Either he'll blow your face off, you look at him tough, he gangster black dudes, boy, they don't take no stuff. Or we just look at his nigger lip, he got the Sambo lip. Now even that now, wait a minute. Can't be ignorant about racism. Talking about Sambo lips. Talking about black person's lips at all. Can't sit, hey, that's not ignorant. But anyway, that's the type of thing that that's why I say now if we're going to go to the get together, anything like that, any of them, this Christmas picnic or whatever else, hey, got to be codified. And I just said, any racist joke, anything like that, whip, deuces, gotta be going. to be expected, especially if it's any liquor. They're going to get together. In summer times, we have a few rum and cokes, or, whatever, have a few brewskis, Mad Dog 2012, whatever. Man, it does not get any better than tacky. So he's going to have his sick note ready. I do not blame. That's why I said, first ask it, is it required that we got to attend? Oh, okay, yeah, never mind. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I get enough trifling mistreatment in the workplace. You didn't accuse me of stealing the weed whacker. And I just told you, I'm going to blow the white man's brains out. You going to come search my vehicle because I got a brick of cocaine that I'm, trying to push to the children on the, but come on. Now we got to hang out for extra time. So I get an extra volunteer dough. No, thank you. I'm going to go home and detox, maybe, Much obliged, Tumbling Dice. Thank you for not shooting any white children or teachers or coworkers this week. Much obliged, sir. And good job skipping out on the get-together. Yeah, that's all I can say. Hey, you fooled me once. Shame on you. You fooled me. See, you get fooled once. Can't get fooled again. See? Much obliged, Tumbling Dice. Let's make sure we didn't have any stragglers. Okay, nobody. Last thing, we didn't miss any folks' suggestions. I will give out condolences again. Jennifer Harris, 39-year-old mother, black mother of 6 children, stabbed to death. Michigan McDonald's, allegedly by a 26-year-old black female coworker. Dispute over, if she did her duties correctly and getting sent home early. Allegedly, black female comes back and stabs Miss Harris to death at the McDonald's in front of, other coworkers. That's just, man. Workplace, I talk about that all the time. Workplace safety. Be alert, any sort of conflicts, arguments in the workplace. Take it seriously. Man, condolences to Miss Harris. They have a GoFundMe for her 6 children, and I think the local McDonald's, where in Eastpointe, Michigan, I think the owner is paying the funeral costs and such, which, that's great, but whew, man, workplace safety. And if folks hear the archive, right, you can email hey, I don't think this is anti-blackness. I think that the suspected killer in this case, she was just frustrated. Non-Clemson dad, he raised a great point about the non-competition clauses and such. So maybe it wasn't so easy for her to just get another job. Not that condones or excuses the conduct, but just helping to provide context for her rage, murderous, allegedly, in this situation. I reckon, but there are lots of examples of white people doing similar and or way worse to black people in the workplace, SoCal, Con Edison, and man, I don't know. Anyway, Alvin Briggs, Omar Thornton, Connecticut, if you're not familiar with those cases, that's pretty recent, very recent with Mr. Bing, it's Andre Marcus Bing. That's very recent, like COVID years. And then Omar Thornton is a little bit further back, but we had Pamela Evans Harris, the late. She was a guest on the program to talk about that event days after it happened. We spoke with Dr. Francis Cress Welsing days after Mr. Thornton killed his white coworkers after he was fired at the brewing company up in Connecticut, because that was a well-publicized case. Dr. Welsing, it's in the archive. She gave her thoughts about what happened there and how many black people go through that frustration of being terminated and, oh my God, I lost my job. What am I going to do? So I think, she didn't add a whole bunch of cases at that time of black people going out and killing white people as a result of their workplace frustrations. but that's in the archives. Omar Thornton case important as well. Connecticut. Anywho, we will be here tomorrow. Mary Kay Letourneau, Seattle History. Sobriety would be best, especially in the workplace, especially if you're going to like the company picnic, volunteer day, any of that. Oh, yeah. You want to drink lots of water, unsweetened tea, so they get to doing the racist. Oh, my goodness, look, we got the sambo. Mm-hmm. I'm sober. I'm hearing clearly. Warning, in danger. Time to go. Creator, we ask that you help us maximize our time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Remind us not to waste non-white people's time and energy, especially our own. Stop name-calling black people. Stop saying not all white people are racist. Stop gossiping. Stop producing throwaway offspring. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. You're a victim. Yeah. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Mm-hmm. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.